We're turning to page. Well, you've got it anyway. So the Rebbe begins. ידוע, it's well known, שאף שבכל Shabbos קוראים בתורה פרשה אחת בלבד, except in certain rare circumstances, like in Shona Peshuta, sometimes we join parshas together, or they may become like one full parsha. ובכל יום בשבוע רואים חלק אחד מהפרשה, and it's the minhag in Lubavitch that on each day of the week we learn one portion of that parsha, HaKosher Li'esa Hayom, which is shared to that particular day. In other words, on Yom Rishon we learn Rishon, and on Monday we learn Sheni V'chol. אבל פי כן, כל חלק מהפרשה קשור לכל הפרשה, וכל הפרשה קשורה לכל התורה, ולכן נקראת התורה תורה אחת. So the Rebbe said that even though we learn one parsha can have in itself several interdivided divisions, what we might call chalachim. So he said, however, if we examine carefully each portion that there is in any given parsha, then we can see that that particular portion has got a connection with the whole message of the whole parsha. And each, as it were, section which may appear to be very different in its context, and its inner content, they all add up together to bring one united message. And the same thing is, if we take the whole Torah together, it's brought down in the great Svarim that the Torah is called Torah Achas, even though it consists of 53 or 54 parashas, and each of those parashas has a separate inyan. However, they also interact, and they all support and add and develop one to the other in such a way that we add up to one general message. Well, that's the Torah Achas. And it's well known, the famous remark of the Rabbi Chabad Tsfat, that he said, after having studied for many years, he said that he thinks that he could probably say the whole Torah, he could probably put it all in one word, or maybe two. Yeah, he can express the whole Torah b'mila achas, meaning that there's a united message and everything. So the point being, but to get to this parasha shlach, which deals with the sending of the, what you might call the spy. Even though the point is going to be made very clearly that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't intend them to be spies. And the sending of the 12 Nasiim of each, the 12 princes of each tribe, the idea wasn't that they should be spies. There was some of them who fell into that idea that they would be spies, and that wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu's intention. However, we find in the Haftorah a very interesting story that Yeshua, despite everything that happened with Moshe Rabbeinu's spies, or Moshe Rabbeinu's observers, or whatever we'll call them, Yeshua's, before going over the Jordan River, and before attacking Jericho, which was the first main step in the conquering of Eretz, he sent 2 spies, only 2. And these 2 people were very remarkable people, colleagues. ben Yefuneh, who was one of the people Moshe Rabbeinu sent, and Pinchas ben Elazar. And so later the Rebbe deals in detail why these two people. Well, Yeshua sent only two people. And then we went very briefly across the Yarden into Yericho, and then something happened in Yericho, and they were hidden by Rabbi Wazena, and they hid in the mountain, and they came back to Yeshua. And yet nonetheless they had a very profound message which they gave over to him. For even Moshe Rabbeinu's spies, which we're talking about, we're going to deal with in detail, there were 12 of them, and they made a very lengthy tour, as you might call it, of the whole breadth and length of Eretz Yisrael in a very full way, that they literally cast their eyes, as you might say, on the whole of Eretz Yisrael. So we see there's a very marked difference between the two sending of these so-called spies. But we're going to deal with it as we go on. So the Rebbe said that Udazu, or this fact, that one thing in the parasha has a message, but it can be also accompanied by other parashas, and they all add up to a general message. That particular fact is borne out, especially by parashat Sein or parashat Shlach. Kol parasha kimat, almost the whole parasha, except for a few events which are mentioned towards the end. Midaber b'nei echad. They all deal with one main theme. And what is that? Shiur hamaradlim, the sending of the spies. Even though we're going to see that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't intend them to be spies, and the name Meraglim is just a term used by the Meforshim. It's not really what Moshe Rabbeinu intended. He said, first of all, we deal with the preparation to send them Harigu Bapel, the actual spying which took place, and then the punishment which was placed upon them and the whole Jewish people due to their misinterpreting and misrepresenting what was the ultimate point of their being sent. And therefore that brought a very heavy punishment on them and on the whole Jewish people. V'avtochus Hashem Yisrael, and then there's a further promise towards the end on the part of Hashem that He promises the Jewish people, despite all the Meraglim have made very, very terrible errors, it's nonetheless the Jewish people, not that immediate generation, but the Jewish people in general will still have the merit of entering the Holy Land. So he said, Kol Zeh, that's the main chapter headings of the dealing in the parasha with the Meraglim. So the Rebbe said that's quite a big area of the whole parasha. So he said, Kol Zeh mitpares, of Panei Kol parasha kimaat. It takes up almost the whole parasha. Kach shekidei lahovin ma b'diuk oyo. We must be likrois chelech on the parasha. If you want to really know what's the real story of the Meraglim and what happened to them and what sort of einish they got and why and what happened, then it's not enough just to read the beginning. Because if you read the beginning, you won't get the full picture. There's a very detailed spreading out of the whole message. So he said, you have to read a large part of the whole parasha to get the complete picture of what happened with the Meraglim. He said, so he said that tends to indicate that we are talking about one parasha which has got to do with the Meraglim. You might say, well look, towards the end we do with the Makoshe Shaitim. The person was found gathering together sheaves of wood on Shabbat, and he's called the Makoshe Shaitim, and he was Machal Shabbos, and he was punished with Misa for that. Then we also have parashat Tzitzit. So the Rebbe said, if you examine them carefully, then you will see the parashat Tzitzis is also a very general parasha. And therefore we see that when you look at the Tzitzis, you're supposed to remember not just the mitzvah of Tzitzis, but you're supposed to remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem. And the actual makeup of the Tzitzis themselves, Rashi brings in detail how you've got so many knots and so many, how do you call it, kriches, and so many tzitzis, and the whole time multiplied by 4 and then by 8 and so on. You get to the mitzvah 613. But that's all the mitzvahs in the Torah as a group. From that we see that the mitzvah of tzitzis, albeit an individual mitzvah, but it embraces in itself a generality. They're the same with the Makoshes Eitzim. If you think about it, Chilul Shabbos is a very general negative feature when you get to all Jewish life. The whole of Jewish life is centered around the Shabbat. So the Shabbos is like, in a way, the whole generality of all the mitzvahs. Kemuvah is brought down in several statements about Satan. So if the Makoshes Eitzim, he was Machal Shabbos, then that's also a very general thing. So therefore the Rebbe's point is that the parsha deals with very general issues. It deals with the whole union of the Meraglim being mistaken in what was their message and their shlichut, as we might call it, their messengership on being sent by Moshe Rabbeinu to Eretz Yisrael. And that's got a very general message when you get to the whole of Yiddishkeit. They had a mistake, a very serious one, in that union, even though they were elevated people when they first started off. And then we move into another general thing of Chilul Shabbos, and then we move into Tzitzis, which is also a very general thing. So we see that even though the parasha does towards the end deal with other matters, they have an allied aspect in them to the Meraglim. In other words, that they're general in them. So the whole parasha is like a general message when they get to the Kavanah of Hashem in the creation of the Jewish people, the giving of the Torah, and Eretz Yisrael. And that general message can be divided into different small inyanim, most of which deal with the Meraglim, but also deal with these two other mitzvahs. So he said, Gam mitzvahs tzitzis, and that's the point he makes now. Aliyah Mesupah B'siyum HaParsha, we're told about that at the end of the Parsha, Matzbiya Al HaKesher Shel Kol Mitzvah V'Kol HaTorah Kula. Because the union of tzitzis embodies in itself an individual thing, but it embraces and it has a kesher with the whole Torah together. B'chach, in such a way, Shel Amriz HaKol, B'chach, Shem L'Amrei Shazuhi Mitzvah Pratiyas, notwithstanding that that's a particular individual mitzvah in its own right, Nemar Leah Ureisam Oisoi Uzachartem Es Kol Mitzvah Hashem. By seeing the tzitzis, you will remember and you will remind yourself of all the mitzvahs of the Eibishter. As I was saying, V'hi Shakula Keneged Kol Mitzvah. Like Rashi brings, that due to the fact that the tzitzis make the number of Tadiyah, that's a sign that she's balanced out and weighs out, as it were, parallel to all the mitzvahs. The tzitzis, as it were, balances out on the scales with all the mitzvahs together. Mashu Mochia, Shekol Inyan, or mitzvah Pratiyas, Kashuru Rakot, that comes to indicate just how each mitzvah has got its own way of being connected with all the mitzvahs. For example, if we take another very key mitzvah, which is also hinted at in this parsha, even though it's not mentioned openly, but it's hinted at. If I had time, I could show you how it's in, but I don't want to sort of sidetrack at the moment. And that is the mitzvah from tefillin, for example. So the Gemara brings down in the Sefer Kiddushin that when you put on tefillin, in a way you're being mekayim all the mitzvahs. The tefillin has in itself such a general and embracing nature that it, as it were, expresses and takes into itself all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So that when you put on tefillin, even though you're doing an individual thing, you're, as it were, embracing most of the Torah itself. And it's brought, the Rebbe brought it down at the time of the 6-Day War when he came out with the whole mitzvah of tefillin. The famous lashon of the Gemara over there, Huksha Kula Torah Kula Litfillin. The whole Torah is compared and likened to tefillin. So we see that in many of the mitzvahs. So the Rebbe said that tzitzis is also like that. It's got a specific aspect to it, but it's also got a general aspect which embraces all the mitzvahs. So he said in such a way that Meraglim, and the story of the Meraglim is an event which occurred, but it has a tremendously embracing message to the whole parsha and to the whole Torah, and it affects the whole Torah. Masha Dayan Deirush Hezber, however, what still remains to be explained, הוא מהו הקשר בין רעיון האקטס בתורה המודגש במיוחד בפרשה לבין תוכנו, פרשת המרגלים. מדוע כל זה נופל דווקא בסוף, that's another, ומדוע, that's another question, כל זה נופל means it comes out, it falls, דווקא בסוף חודש סיוון. So the Rebbe said, that it demands an explanation that what is the special message of the Meraglim? What is we said something that affects the whole Torah and the whole relationship of Yidden to the Torah and the whole Indian of Eretz Israel, the very central. So the Rebbe said we need to know what is that message and how does that affect the whole actus of the whole central message of the whole Torah, which means that there's something very, like we pointed out, significantly general. We need to know what is that. And he said, furthermore, there's a famous statement from the shlach HaKodesh, which is brought down in many places. And the shlach HaKodesh says, and then embraces in Parashat Vayeshev, in reference to Hanukkah. And he says, whenever any event comes out in the Seder of the year, then whatever parsha you're reading in the Torah at that time, there must be a very powerful interrelation between that thing which is happening and what's written in the Torah in that particular time. So therefore, since we always read the parsha of the spies towards the end of Chodesh Sivan, well, that tends to indicate that there must be some connection. Not 10, but that's for sure. There must be some connection between this general message, whatever it may be, of the Meraglim to the end of Chodesh Sivan. And particularly towards the end of Chodesh Sivan. And what do you want better? That it's brought down in our sages and mentioned in the Gemara that the Meraglim was sent on Erev Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. They were sent Kof Tes Sivan. In other words, the actual sending of the Meraglim Bapoyel occurred on Kof Tes Sivan. So that we see that everything really comes together. Not we just read this, but it actually happened at this time of the year. And that's what is brought down that the day when the time that they sent the Meraglim, that was the time of the coming out of the first fruits of grapes. It's mentioned in the Torah, you may be kulei or anavim. So what's that got to do with it? At this time of the year is when you'll notice that the grapes begin to really become ready to be picked and made use of, and the first general fruits of the grapes are appearing. And so our sages made a assessment that that's always towards the end of Chodesh Sivan. So we need to understand, why does the Torah stress that and why does it come out that the Meraglim adopted connection with the finality of Chodesh Sivan. So the Rebbe says, Parshas HaShavua Mishaperes al HaMeraglim Sheshalach Moshe. the actual parasha talks about the spies that Moshe sent. And as we're going to see, he didn't mean them to be spies, but that's what we call them. He said, "V'gam b'haf Torah," and also in the portion from the prophets that we read after the parasha, shehi kiyadua me'ein ha-parasha, it's one of the laws of our Haftarah that it has to deal with something which is dealt with in the parashas Hashavua of the Torah. So he said it has to be what we call me'ein ha-parasha, has to be similar to the parasha. He said, Musupah, it's told over there, Keitzad Yoshua Shalach Maraglim. Yeah, Yoshua, Moshe Rabbeinu's, had he trusted and devoted chassid and servant, Yoshua, he took over the leadership of the Jewish people, and the actual kibush and the actual entry into Eretz Yisrael was through him. So he also, prior to going over the Yarden and attacking Yericho, which was connected with tremendous nisim, then he sent Meraglim. And L'chera, that's an interesting fact, just in its own right, that you might have thought to yourself, well, there was enough trouble with what came out of the Meraglim that Moshe Rabbeinu said. Why did Yeshua feel obliged? Why did he even contain in his calculation such an idea? Yet nonetheless he did. And we see that it was very different in different ways than what Moshe Rabbeinu did. So he said, Bein Shnei HaShlichi HaYisraelu, he said, between these two sendings of what ultimately became spies, he said, Yeshna Mispar Hevdelim, Hadirshim Bia. There's a number of different aspects, Hevdelim means like differences, but they require explanation. So it's very fascinating to study carefully, and I would recommend that everybody wants to get into the scene in a bit. It's a very fascinating Indian. If you read when I get to the sending of the Meraglim on the part of Yoshua at the beginning of Sefer Yoshua, then you get a very interesting picture in how Rashi describes them. Rashi mentions who they were and so on and so on, and then your mind goes back to what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu, and it becomes a very interesting comparison between the two. So he said, what is the first difference? He said, Moshe Shalach Meraglim al Das Atzmai. Moshe Rabbeinu sent the Meraglim after his own opinion, or according to his own mind. He didn't have a mitzvah from Hashem that he must send the Meraglim. How do we know that? Rashi brings down the famous statement that Rashi says, shlach l'cho, the word l'cho, you should send according to you. So Rashi says that means l'dat cho. Hashem is saying to him, you should do it according to your opinion. Ani einim mitzaver l'cho. Hashem says to Moshe, I'm not commanding you. I'm not commanding you to send. Now, well then, if you want to send, then you should do it. The Umazois, however, compared to that, Yeshua Nitztaver, Yeshua was commanded al Yidei Hashem l'shleach Meraglim. So I see that we seem to suffer here from an interesting phenomenon called bedtime stories. Maybe I should pull out a book of some nice little stories and start telling bedtime stories. Everybody's sort of dropping off. The sleep is, or maybe I should pull out my mouth organ or something, do something really comical, and maybe I might wake up a few people. What do you suggest? Gotta be careful, he's a kohen, I'm giving him a clap. Anyway, in the yeshiva, both of them used to keep away from me because I'm not sort of give them a clerk or a stupid, if they were sitting near me. But anyway, so the Rebbe said, you want to know, how do we know that Yeshua was commanded? If you look up in the story, over there, it's not written that Hashem said to Yeshua, they should send them around. It comes along the Alter Rebbe in Mekutei Torah. The Alter Rebbe in Mekutei Torah says that is for sure, that if Yeshua sent Meraglim, he must have only done it if he was commanded. And what is the proof, as it were? The proof of that is exactly what we're just asking. That what's he doing sending Meraglim after all the Torahs that they were with the first lot? Yes, Elamai, that he most certainly wouldn't have done that had he not been commanded by Hashem. And that's actually brought, that expression is actually brought by the Alter Rebbe in the Mekutei Torah. So therefore it follows that Moshe Rabbeinu, he said, we're going to see in a minute, why Moshe Rabbeinu, why did he come? If Hashem didn't command him, why did he make such a faithful decision nonetheless to send these people? And that's a very interesting question. And particularly that Hashem said, I've already told everybody that this is a very wonderful country and it's the best, as it were, that one can possibly offer the Jewish people. What are they concerned about, you know? And yet nonetheless, Moshe Rabbeinu sent the Meraglim, so that's going to demand an explanation. But for the moment, we are concerned with what are the differences. So that's one of the differences. Secondly is, Eitzo Moshe loy moifia habitui Meraglim. Oh, now we're getting to the point. The Rebbe says that if you look carefully in the whole story, at the beginning of the parashat, you don't find the word Meraglim. Meraglim means what? Anashim, people. He sent them l'sur as not l'ragil. Lo lachpor, there's another expression, which means lachpor, which means also to like hide yourself and dig in and watch what's going on a military basis. He didn't do that either, Moshe Rabbeinu. The whole word Meraglim, where does it occur the first time? In a Rashi. Rashi brings that Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for Yeshua and added to his name. That was taken from Sorry original Inan and Divrei Chadal, and he added to his name and he prayed to him that Hashem should guard you from the Atzas HaMeraglim. And he called the idea of the Meraglim. Of nobody mentioned Meraglim. Who are the Meraglim? So ask yourself the question, what did Rashi want with that? We're going to see the fact that they eventually saw themselves as a Meraglim, or acted like them, or spoke like Meraglim in the end. That is part of the whole problem. They weren't meant to be spies on a military or strategic basis at all. He said, Nemarak shlach lecha anashim. You should send people, and Rashi said anashim means important people, kosher, important people. But Yosuru is Eretz Canaan. So this word Yosuru is a very interesting word. It's like to tour, literally, to make a trip around and, to sort of enjoy the scenery. It can also mean, from the word Yitorim, what Yitorim means an advantage or a milah. They should add something into Eretz Yisrael as well. Elevate its great milah, or its great inner message, so the Jewish people will be aware of it. That's why he sent Moshe Rabbeinu. He didn't send spies. Yeshua es Eretz Canaan, ve'eso Yeshua nema b'mufurish anoshim meraglim. Ve'ilu by Yeshua, it's written clearly that Yeshua said spies. Shnei Anashim, only two of them, Shnei Anashim Meraglim. They sent them, meaning them to be spies. He said, what's the third difference? Moshe shlach shtei Anashim. Moshe Rabbeinu sent 12 people, one for each tribe. Levi not. Shevet Levi was not sent, but for the 12 tribes apart from Shevet Levi, we divide Shevet Yosef into 2. Yeah, so we get 12 tribes anyway. ויהושע שלח רק 2 אנשים. He sent only 2 people. A 4th difference. He said, Moshe shalach es Nesiei Yisrael. Moshe sent the leaders of each tribe. And he called big people. And he called prominent leaders of their whole tribe. He said, V'nikta b'Torah mi b'diuk nishlach. And it's written clearly what their names are. A whole big piece in the parashat. These are their names. Ve'ilu Yeshua shalach anashim stam. And it's not written in the actual verse who they were. We only know who they were through Kabbalah that we have from our sages. It's not written who they were. V'lo katu afilu mi heimayu. It's not written who they were. So it would appear from that as far as the actual verses are concerned in Yeshua, you don't really need to know who these guys were. It just adds to your background and to your depth of appreciation if you do know them. But you don't really need to know. But by the spies of Moshe Rabbeinu, well, when I say spies, the Nesiim that he sent, it appears that their names are important because, he writes in detail in the Torah all their names. So he said a further difference. He said, "Amaraglim shel Moshe pirsamu es atzmo." The Meraglim of Moshe Rabbeinu made a big, public knowledge of themselves. They made themselves known to the whole Jewish people. Because when they came back, they reported to Moshe v'Aaron, Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael. They reported to everybody, which means that everybody was expecting them. Everybody knew that they'd gone. So they were mefarsim themselves. He said, Kol B'nai Yisrael Yodu K'shamarag Nehochu V'chazru. He said, all the Jewish people knew when they went and knew when they came. He said, "V'gam b'Eretz Yisrael, ein lo yholchu b'nifrad u'v'seisa el kulam yachad." The Rebbe said, even when they came into Eretz Yisrael, if you're a bunch of spies, then what do you usually do? They said, "Listen, let's split up. You guys go this way, we'll go this way. Make sure you keep under the mountain ledges and hide in the fields. Don't make yourself known." No, they walked as a big group together, and wherever they went, people could have seen them. But Lapel, they didn't. Why? Because Hashem made a net. Everybody is familiar with the net that Hashem made. That the Mitzrayim were busy, bearing the amazing v'chulu, and they didn't have time to. There was a famine, or what do you call it, a dever. And they were busy, they saw people, but they didn't really pay much attention to them. But that means that the spies themselves did not attempt to hide themselves. Well, they went, and when they brought the fruits, there's a whole big londas in the Gemara when they get to how did they carry how many of them there were and how many sticks and rods that they had to carry it. And they put a huge cluster of grapes, immense in its size, and they all walking along carrying this. They're part of the way through the borders of Eretz Yisrael. I mean, it had to be any organized observation on the people already there. They must have seen it. But Hashem made a mess that they weren't really noticed, or they weren't really felt, but they made no effort from their own side to hide themselves. So he said, "Afilu b'Eretz Yisrael, haim lo yholchu b'nifrad v'seisa el kulam yachad, ad she'Hashem also nes miyuchad kedei shelo yargishu b'hem." The people shouldn't become aware that they're around. Ve'ilu meragla Yeshua. Over B'Sheket, they went very carefully. Mibli Shebnei Israel Yedu. The whole Jewish people didn't know about them. Only Yeshua, only you knew. Okay, but Yeshua, Aftzivur Aleihem Shiyu Maraglei Cheresh. What the word Cheresh is means somebody who can't speak. It's called a Cheresh. In other words, quiet, very secret. Be Maraglei, how do you call it? Be very quiet about yourselves and be hidden and secretive. How's the word say?
Covert.
Yeah, huh?
Covert.
Covert, yeah. They were very, very hidden and quiet. Vayisnagu ki'iluhem charashim, and they conducted themselves as if they were charashim, and they didn't chat or talk themselves. V'gam bo Eretz Yisrael heim ne'atzlu, the hishchabei, they had to hide themselves. B'bayos harishayin elam ha'megiur. They came to one house, and then all of a sudden somebody sort of picked up the idea, and Rahab hid them on the roof, so they were in hiding the whole time. And then she said to them, you should go down by the wall and run in such a way that you'll avoid the chasers, because people are already chasing after them. However, they made tremendous effort to hide themselves and to avoid any of the pursuers. So therefore said the Rebbe, that's a very, very different picture than by Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, "V'gam be'eretz Yisrael, ein ne'atzlu tzchabei," in the first house that they reached. An even further difference, Meraglei Moshe yistoivu b'kol eretz Yisrael kula. The 12 people that Moshe Rabbeinu sent, they went the breadth and the length of the whole of Israel, and they literally looked and viewed and took into their attention the whole of Eretz Yisrael. Ve'ilu meraglei Yeshua amnam nitztavu. Yeshua commanded them l'raglas kol haaretz, avu b'foyo b'eis halayla shehim higiu l'beis shel Rocho. And so he said that even though the Meraglim of Yeshua were told also by Yeshua to look at what's happening with the whole country, Lepel they didn't. They only went to one place called Yericho, and in the first night they were in Yericho, they were already hiding, and the first thing the next morning they had to get outside quick and hide in the mountains. He said, they went back within 3 days or so, and they came back immediately to Yeshua. And Yeshua didn't say to them, what are you guys doing back here? You haven't done anything. But he was very satisfied with what they told him. And on that basis, everybody decided that this was the moment to go over the Jordan and begin the conquering of Yericho. So that's a sign that even though they didn't look they didn't see very much at all, but yet nonetheless they carried out their shlichut. The Meraglim Moshe Rabbeinu, they went all around the place and they viewed the whole of Eretz Yisrael, and unfortunately, they messed up the whole. They had very seriously blew the whole thing. So we need to understand, what was happening here. What's the story? What is the basic mistake that they made, and what is the basic mistake that the Yeshua's guys didn't make? They seem to do nothing, and yet they carry out with perfection their shlichut. So the Rebbe says, he said the explanation for this whole thing is the following. He said, Shtei hashlichiyos shel Moshe v'Yoshua hoyu l'tzoyrek shtei matoroi shoina. That the two sendings on the part of Moshe and Yeshua, they had two different goals altogether. They were for different purposes. He said, Shishlimu zu. The truth of the matter is that now that we look back, we can see that these two things how do you call it, perfected or completed one the other. But they were two different goals and two different purposes altogether. So he said, what were they? So he said, Yeshne Pu'ulas Rigo B'dei Ladas Ketat Lishboish. He said, there's an act of spying in order to know how to conquer the country. You look at all the different ways, how am I going to get in and how am I going to conquer this city and what are we going to have to do? Yeshne Pu'ulas Rigo K'dei Lahakir Es HaOretz K'dei Sha'am Yirtza V'Aleis La'oretz B'Simcha. So the Rebbe said two different idioms. There's one way, and this was Yeshua's way. Yeshua, he was concerned, he was holding right by going across the Yarden. He's got to start getting finished with the kibbutz, with the conquering of Eretz Yisrael. So he was beginning at the time of starting the war, what you might call the actual invasion of Eretz Yisrael. So he sent these two guys, and they were spies in the normal way to conquer. However, he said there's another thing altogether in sending observers, and that is that you've already been promised that you're going to conquer. You're not really worried about the conquerors, but you want to see the great advantages and the great good points of the country you're going into, so that the people you want to go in should do it gladly and joyfully. And if you do something gladly and joyfully, then it has a much greater effect. And if there is any need for a small inn of kibbutz, then it's going to happen on Saturday in the best possible way. Why? Because everybody's very happy and full of joy that they're going into the country. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu sent his spies. He sent them not to spy, because Hashem had already said this is, you're going to go. He promised many times that the Eretz Yisrael is for the Jewish people. So it's already been promised. He said Moshe Rabbeinu wanted that the Meraglim should see the great advantages and the great beauties and attractivities of Eretz Yisrael, come back and tell everybody that, so that everybody would be very pleased. Oh wow, this is great, and they would forget about all the other things, but they would be very joyful to go in to this great gift which Hashem is preparing for them. So this is a whole new idea what the Rebbe is presenting, that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't send spies. He didn't send spies. He sent observers to come back and tell a very positive report about the beauty and greatness of Eretz. So therefore he said, Zehu Eifo Yahevdel Bein Meragli Moshe LeYoshua. And he said, now we'll understand more clearly what is the difference between the spies of Moshe and those of Yoshua. He said, Meragli Moshe Lo Nishlechu Kidei L'das Keitzad Lichbosh. With this, the Rebbe answers all sorts of difficulties that occur in the Meforshim. Even to this day, people don't quite figure what's going on. Why does Rashi say certain things? But with this principle of the Rebbe here, it all becomes very well settled. Moshe didn't send his representatives in order to know how we're going to conquer. We're not worried about conquer. We've been promised that we're going to conquer. That's not our concern. Ella kedei lahakir, to recognize and become acquainted with Eretz Yisrael. Ve'ilo meragli Yeshua kvar lo hoyu tzrichim lahakir es ma'aleh shel Eretz Yisrael. The spies of Yeshua didn't need to know how beautiful Eretz Yisrael was. Kiva shezeh kvar nasa b'shleimas b'zman shel Moshe. In other words, the Rebbe learns that there was one thing that the Meraglim of Moshe did do good. That when they first came back, they said, well, this is a gewaldige place, and look at the fruits, and then they started dragging a coat. But before that, what they said was what was really meant them to say. So they said it's a very beautiful country. So the Rebbe said that the spies of Yeshua, they didn't need to look for that because they already heard it. Who did they hear it from? From the spies of Moshe. They heard it from the spies of Moshe, and that's already been carried out. B'zman shel Moshe. Miragli Yeshua Yotzrim Badas Keita. It was purely a practical inyan. They didn't even go to look all the different ways, how they're going to conquer, etc., etc. They needed to get in and find out exactly what sort of relationship does the enemy have towards our invasion. Are they prepared? Are they not? It was a purely strategical inyan. Preparing, and it wasn't in doubt as to whether we're going to go or not. Just wanted to know where are we holding to get to our relationship with the actual enemy. That's why he said, it's a completely different concept. And therefore he said, Maragli Yeshua Yitzchim Ladas Keitzad Ligboisha or Be'eze Ir Lihilachem Kodem Ukedem. They didn't have any doubt they're going to conquer, but they had to know, should we start here, should we start there, what's the spirit of the whole play. He said, Kivan Shebezman Shal Yeshua Hoyuzakukim Gam L'chak. Even for a technical point like that, in Yeshua's moment, they needed that. Even a thing like that, they need. That's why he said, it's a politic. And the Rebbe brings down amazing rayas from Rashi at the beginning of the parashat. What Rashi says about what Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, reason as a Oretz Mahi, you should see what sort of country is it, and then Ba'am, Ayoshev Aleho, are they strong, are they not? Rashi says a very fascinating thing. Rashi said, I'm not asking you to look at the people, are they strong or not strong, just for that, for their own value. He said, I want to know what sort of country it is. He said, because there's some countries that are so rich that they bring out people who are strong and adequate fighters. There's certain countries which cause people like that to grow. And there's certain countries which are a little bit schwach. So the people are also schwach. So Rashi is medayek that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted them to see what's with the country, not so much the people. The people is like oil from the country. But not that he really wanted to know who the people were strong or not. He wanted to know about the country. And everything Rashi is medayek in that direction. And then Rashi says about AIDS in mind, Rashi learned to go and then there's a pshat, maybe there's a tzaddik, I'm not kosher, that he'll be making on the country. Well, then we have to be concerned about. But once again, Rashi learns that's how Edom going to get to the country. Maybe the country has been zoyed to have a very great person in its midst. Not that we're concerned, is there anything going to hold us back? We've been promised divinely that we're not going to be held back. It could just be that this guy, being a very country, he might have a little bit of a slight problem because he's but it's all to do with the country, not with whether there's any threat from anybody. And when you think about it, that's such an amazing pshat. It's very clear, but you just don't notice it. But the way the Rebbe develops it, it's just so amazing that Moshe Rabbeinu's people were not sent on any military basis whatsoever. They were sent to look at the great advantages and beauty and everything of Eretz Yisrael, and to make people feel happy at this great gift that they were going to get. Whether they were going to get it, we've already been told many times. So he said, B'nai Yisrael bikshu mi-Moshe maraglim al-manas l'ragil es-oretz. Now if we go further, not here, but over in Sefer Dvorim, Moshe tells the whole story of the sending of the what we call Meraglim, and over there it's written that the Jewish people pushed and they didn't do it in an ordinary way, and they nudged Moshe Rabbeinu that he should send people l'ragil, this order, to spy. Now Moshe Rabbeinu never occurred to him such an idea. So he said, "L'das mehekin k'day lahaschil lehilochim, k'der kol haboim lehilochim beretz acher." It's just like any other military body that's coming to fight a strange country has to know, the military, how do you call it, things that are very apparent. Which way are we going to have to fight in order to get in? And if you look up in Sefer Dvarim, in parashat, right at the beginning, in parashat Dvarim, it's written that they said, "Nishlacho anashim lefaneinu," let us send people in front of us. V'yakpuru, but that means iraglu. The word yakpuru is another word in Hebrew meaning to look militarily how to get into the country. Abu Moshe lo yishalach es hameraglim b'shvil zeh. It's written. Rashi brings down over there. If you look, that Moshe Rabbeinu was very taken aback when he heard this from the people. And it's written that he asked the Eibishter, should he still send the people, because they have the wrong idea. He wants them to just look at the country. And they're talking about being military spies. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was in a soaking. And it's written that he asked the Shekhinah, he asked the Eibishter, what should he do? So the Eibishter said, listen, I'm keeping out of this. It's up to you. If you still want to do it, then do it. So Moshe Rabbeinu felt that nonetheless they would help these people by his cooperating with them. They would help the right line, and unfortunately they didn't. So that's the whole thing. Aber Moshe lo yishalach es hameraglim b'shvil zeh, b'kim shaloi hoya b'chach shum tzorah. We didn't need that. He said, it was going to be a miraculous war. Moshe Rabbeinu said, if you're talking about war, we've already been promised that Hashem's going to fight for it. What's the reason that he sent them? If he saw they had a different idea than what he did, why did he send them? So he said, Moshe Meraglim, Oisa Avarat B'dei Lahakir Tchunais Ha'oretz U'Manuta. Moshe Rabbeinu nonetheless decided to send them that they should bring back messages about the Tchunais, how do you say Tchunais, the characteristics and the aspect of the country and its great advantages. You should see the great advantage that there is in the country. But the emphasis is on the eretz, not on the people. Also, it depends if it's a very rich country, then it's got a lot of people growing in it. If it's got less population, it's less, but all about the country. That's why I said to them, you must bring back payers, because he wanted them to bring back the excellent fruit of Eretz Israel. Yes, all of them should see the great minder and benefit and greatness of Eretz Israel. That was all he wanted. He wasn't interested in the military side of it, Paklav. They weren't meant to be spies. They were just meant to be advantageous observers that would give over this unbelievable positive, sympathetic message to the Jewish people. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's intention. But the Rebbe says the truth of the matter is that oddly enough, and a bit sort of, what's the expression in English? I've forgotten the word. Oddly enough, that part of the shlichus, the Meraglim actually kept. That part of it they did. Okay. He said, "V'ochein, Torah zu is kaima v'shleimusa alidei Meraglim Moshe Rabbeinu." when they first came back, they said to the Jewish people, it's a country that's oozing milk and honey. And he said, this is, and they showed them this amazing, great, a bunch of grapes with the guns amazing. And so he said, the problem with the Meraglim was not what they said when they first came back. He said, they added, and then they said, they said things but nobody asked them to say. That according to their opinion, we can't do it. In other words, they mixed in a very mistaken military idea to what nobody asked them to do that. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't ask them to talk militarily at all. He wanted them to tell the matter. So when they first came back, that's what they did. So they did the right thing in that regard. And that's why later when Yeshua sent his Meraglim, he didn't have to ask him to do that because everybody knew him. So the river writes in the sea, where did everybody know? Everybody knew from the first Meraglim. Which means that had they known to shut up and keep quiet, they would have been perfect messengers. They would have done everything which was required of them. And that's the old saying that the Gemara brings down, whoever adds to what he's not really requested to do, he has a word. He only subtracts. He doesn't add, but he subtracts. In other words, they weren't asked to talk about that sort of thing. That's not what they were sent for. The fact that they added that and they made a whole fuss out of that, and they started telling people it's too hard for us, and so on and so forth. That's what was the terrible blow which brought the whole punishment. So he says, Hamaraglim show Yeshua the Meraglim of Yeshua didn't need to be boided, how do you call it, the beauty of the country. Also Meraglim Moshe, had Meraglim Moshe kept quiet after what they said, everything would have been fine. And they already knew that from the Meraglim of Moshe. Tafkido of the spies of Yeshua, their whole meaning was just a purely practical thing to conquer Be'ika Yerikle, how to get in, and what's the spirit, what's going on in the beginning of the whole country. It's well known that had the whole Jewish people gone into Eretz Yisrael at the time when Moshe Rabbeinu sent the Meraglim, as he really meant them to do, then everything would have been just nissim. There wouldn't have been any need for military activities. Everything would have been nissim. However, Yeshua was on a much lower level in certain inyanim, and the people after the 40 years in the desert, they were on a slightly lower level, and therefore it had to be more, how do you call it, a war and a conquering. So Yeshua, connected with his level, he had to send people to find out how are we going to conquer. And that was the tufu he said. He said, they needed certain things to do by way of natural activity. Had Moshe Rabbeinu's guys kept quiet and the whole Jewish people would have anyway gone in, then they wouldn't have needed anything. That's put down in Divrei Chazal, the Megillah there. So he says, the Rebbe, where we so we've still got a couple of minutes. So he says, Ka'is Novin Hater as a Sibel the Kola Dalim, Ben Meragli Moshe Lamar Yeshua. we listed all these differences between the Meragli Moshe and those of Yeshua. He said, but with this general point that we've made, that Moshe Rabbeinu meant something different altogether, and Yeshua was aiming at something different altogether. He said, on this basis, we'll now be able to understand all those differences. They'll all make good sense. He said, B'zman shel Moshe, lo yitziva Hashem l'shloach Meraglim. That in the time of Moshe there was no command on the part of Hashem to send, as we made the point before. Kiven shelo yehoya shum tzorech l'das ye'ek yosef kal lipois ha'aretz. It said there was no real necessity to know, because everybody knew that Hashem had promised that it was all going to be miraculously conquered. Kasher hakivush nasa al yidei Hashem. Because they were all of the opinion that the kibbutz is going to be through Hashem altogether. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu didn't tell them to do anything military, just to come back and tell the greatness of Eretz Yisrael, that people should be able to go in b'simcha. He said, "Mekivat shebnei Yisrael bikshu." But since certain people did require the whole idea of sending people to observe, Hiskim Rokak Moshe b'toy tikva she'em yishchatu b'riyosom she'ein isnadas l'chag. That Moshe Rabbeinu thought that they would see he's not going against them and he's not holding them back. He's not just from Moshe Rabbeinu, that's what he meant. Since they see that Moshe Rabbeinu is not getting in the way, they would think again, why isn't he against it? And they would come to the real appreciation of what he really wants. In other words, that would cause a nearness between them and Moshe Rabbeinu, and they would understand that he didn't mean a military in him at all. So he says, but when they didn't, they could go back from their opinion, Sha'al Moshe Hashem, Nimloch B'Lashon HaGimora, Nimloch Moshe B'Shechina. Moshe asked the Shechina, Ha'im Kedai L'Shloach Meraglim Rak Kedai Liros Es Tiv Ha'oretz. Under these circumstances, where you see that people are not really holding by that, should he still nonetheless send them? Because his whole aim is only they should see the good and the might of the country. So on that, the Eber said to him, as far as the Eber, even for that there was not necessary. The Eber said, I've already told him it's very good. But he said, Moshe, he was the great shepherd of the Jewish people. Mishu sheyareh es ha'oretz v'yasam Chaim b'ma'aseh. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted that the whole entry should be b'simcha. People should come back and tell them just what a wonderful place the country is. Then they're going to pick up everything and go back. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu wanted, even though he knew that not from Hashem and not mitzvah the imams it was really necessary. But from the point of view of making them full of simcha, it had a certain aim. And that was his whole aim. V'lochein sholach Moshe anoshim losur es ha'oretz v'lo l'ragil. He sent people to, as it were, tour the country. He said not to spy, but davke Shneim also Nasiya Yisrael. He sent 12 very princely people in the Jewish people. Kivan shekol echad makir shivtoi. Since each prince of a tribe, he knows all the people in his tribe. And he's a faithful representative of his tribe. And so when he comes back, he'll tell his tribe, listen, this is just for you. In other words, everybody will see all the tremendous marvels of Eretz Yisrael. And the Eretz Yisrael is so blessed with wonder and mild that each one of them will see how this is just great for his. In other words, miraculously, it's going to happen that everybody will see how this is just great for his particular tribe. So he said, ושכל שבט ישמע מהנושא שלו, שהאורץ טובה, בלבד יגרום לו הדבר לארץ, לאורץ בשמחה גדולה. When he hears that everybody saw everything, and they saw in everything, that Eretz Yisrael was everything. So they said, don't have to worry, it's such an amazing general plate that whatever we as a tribe are going to need, for sure we're going to find it. Yeah, that's why he sent people who were like representatives of their tribe, that they should be able to convince their tribe that you got everything waiting for you. And if we want to go, yeah, don't care b'simcha. They went through the whole country. So the Rebbe said the goyal, which gave everybody his own particular thing, was only much later at the end of 40 years, and after they were already ready to go into Eretz Yisrael b'pel mamish. Nobody knew exactly yet what his particular tribe was going to get. So the Rebbe said they did know from the brachas of Yaakov Avinu, the blessings of Yaakov, they knew certain things, but not exactly where and what and everything. It's going to be for every tribe. So therefore it was important that everybody should see just how great the whole of Eretz Yisrael. We don't know yet exactly what's going to be our portion. So therefore we have to see that it's all great, and wherever you'll be in it, it'll be great. So he said, therefore it was necessary for Kol Echad Yeres Kol Haaretz, ורק אז הוא ידע בבירה שהוא ראה גם את החלק של שבטי. But take all the greatness, he said what's going to anyway be his particular tribe. ולכן, הם גם הולכו בפרסום גדול. כי מטרות המועצה לא הגיע לכל ישראל שהאורץ תיגול. Therefore they went, everybody knew they were going, and the whole Klal Yisrael, the whole camp, everybody knew they were going, because they were supposed to come back and make everybody happy and full of Basuras Tevit. והם לא היו צריכים להתחבא, כדי לדעת את אנשי האורץ, כי לא יזרו מטרות. They didn't have to hide and keep out of the way of the people, because that's not why they came. They didn't come on a military basis. והם גם לא יחששו לעורר תשומת לב. They also weren't worried that the people in the country will look at them. They weren't worried. Hashem nonetheless made a nest to protect them. But they weren't worried about that. כי מכיוון שהכיבוש היה אומר לי יש ניסי, גם הריגו שיהיה ניסי, ומה הריגו? only minor. Well, he wasn't bias to so that it's not given to what you might call technical and natural problems. I mean, since there's no technical and natural problems, they were always supposed to look at the mindless and the greatness, and that's what they were supposed to tell. That what they mixed in the other end, that was their problem. אבל רק לישוע, שהמטרות המועצות רק לדעת כיצד לכבוד. It was only a purely technical matter at the last minute exactly how we're going to carry out the war. היה עדיף שילכו רק שני אנשים. And they were פשוטים, they were supposed to be pshutim, they weren't really. But they weren't famous at that moment who they were. But many people thought maybe it would appear that they were almost like simple people. בשקט, and very quietly, כי אין צורך שמישהו ידע על כך חוץ משרי הצבא, רק יהושע, that he's the general, and maybe some of his generals knew what was going on. וכאשר הם הגיעו ושומעו מפי רוחב שנופלה מוסכם, that רוחב הזה said to them that your fear is on us, וכי נאמרו כל יש בארץ מפניכם. She said to them that all the people in the whole country, Namoyim means they all had to go tittering. They're all in a shriek from you people. That was enough for them. They knew that they were going to conquer the country. because the people are no making see they're tittering without doing anything. So he said, once they heard that was their whole, they could go back to Yeshua, so that was their shlichus. Once they said that the whole country is verschreckt from us, in Yiddish, verschreckt means they're completely helpless with that pachad. So they've already found out that it's just a question of going ahead and making war in a sensible way, and we're going to win. We're sure that we're going to win. Remember, they carried out their shlichus. So what's it all got to do? That's the famous saying, what's it all got to do with the price of fish? So the Rebbe goes on to say towards the end that he now develops on a whole innovation. When the stalkers of Pshita, a whole big, amazing wonder. But what he says is that Yossi Levi is also going to get a part in the country, Shevet Levi, which means that 13 Hedikot tribes, which means that the dividing up when Moshiach will come is going to be very special, and it's going to be slightly adjusted in such a way that Levi will also be able to take part. So the Rebbe said it means 13, and 13 is Gematria Echad. And that means that the whole world is going to be full, like the Rambam says, that the whole world will be full of knowledge of Hashem. If the Shevet Levi, their whole window is only to serve Hashem. And if they're going to get part of the country, it's a sign that the whole country is just aware only of Hashem. So he said, when there's going to be only awareness of Hashem, then everything will just take part in an absolutely miraculous way, like it was meant originally when they first came in. That's what it was meant to be originally, and it's all going to be more of Hashem. And the Rebbe said the way we can prepare for that now is also to spread Yiddishkeit and to learn a lot of siddhas and be megala pnimis and Torah, that the whole world should be full of knowledge of Hashem. And he said the main thing is to reveal what's called aftas, oneness amongst the people. And he said, why has that got to do with the end of Sivan? He said, because Sivan is the month that the Torah is given. This is like the Hemshah and the completion of the giving of the Torah, that the whole of Eretz Yisrael are going to be divided up to the Jewish people. That's the ultimate goal and aim of Matan Torah. And when Moshiach will come, it's going to be more of a order. Hashem Echad, Gematria Yud Gimel, everything's going to be Gila Elokuz. That's what was meant originally. That was the ultimate plan. And that's what the Rambam finishes. More Ha'oretz Deya, V'lo Yeh Kol Ha'elam Kulei. The world is not going to get everything to do, only to know Hashem Bilbah. Only to know about Hashem. See, that's pretty hot stuff, man.